Men go to war, and women and children flee war. Where are all the women and children, please? Everybody that's coming over are fighting age men. They're soldiers. Now, are they there to protect us, or are they there to round us up? What are these immigration centres for if we're not using them? What are all these new prisons for if we're not using them? Prisoners are being released early, on tide. What are the FEMA camps built for? The largest one can accommodate 2 million people. But where the hell do they expect to find 2 million people? And more importantly, why? There's something else going on they're not telling us about, because it's cataclysmic. And we should be told. We should be allowed to make preparations. Putin, who's supposed to be the bad guy, has made preparations for every single one of his citizens. Man, woman and child. But what are our governments doing for us? Absolutely nothing. So you want to know what immigration is really all about? Ask them. Because they're working with the SAS. They're working with our military. They are soldiers. That's my view. Why is it that our own veterans are living on the streets? Why our own people are living on the streets? And yet these people can come over and live in hotels and get £175 a week. That's more than our unemployed get because they're on the payroll. There is something being planned and it's not good. Not good at all. For any of us. And I said before, where are all the women and children? Men go to war. Women and children flee war. Why are they coming here? There's no war here. Why aren't they fighting for their own countries? Why are they coming here? And why are we accommodating them when we're not even accommodating our own people?
The difference between having defensive military forces and being a culture that's based on getting your wealth from war. We didn't get our wealth from wars. Europe got all of its wealth from robbing other people, marauding other people, taking their wealth back home as booties. That's not how Africa got her wealth. So there was no necessity to have an army that was based on genociding other people in order to steal what became the wealth that you build your society with.
There's not a war situation going on right now. It's just the current battle from the ongoing war.
Study that was done in the 1960s, and it was really commissioned by NASA because they wanted to know how to hire more geniuses. So they hired George Land and his team to go out and figure out what makes a genius. So they started with a group of 5-year-olds and they gave them a creativity test. So the way they defined genius was, how do you use your creative imagination to solve problems? And what they found was, of this group of 5-year-olds, 98% qualified as geniuses. Then they came back 5 years later when this group was 10 years old, and it was down to 30%. 5 years later at 15, it was down to 12%. And then I think they just kind of gave up in disgust. But George Land took it further and went out and surveyed adults and found that only 2% of adults. And the thing that's also very interesting is he attributed this to school. 100% to school, that you would take a population, 98% genius, and dumb them down to 2%. And one of his quotes that I love is he said, uncreative behavior and thinking is learned.
A lot of people want to talk about the war, but they don't want to talk about war. People are comfortable with talking about the war because the official narrative, the mainstream perspective, has deemed that discussion as acceptable. It's acceptable to talk about celebrities. It's acceptable to talk about the weather. It's acceptable to talk about sports. It's acceptable to talk about money and jobs and how depressing everything is and how bad everything is. But take one step closer to the roots of the origins of those problems, and people don't want to go there. Why? Because the official narrative has deemed that level of communication as taboo. It's absurd for you to even entertain that kind of discussion. You need to entertain the discussion that talks about what the big head people talk about.
How many genders are there?
2.
And they are?
Male, female.
But what about someone's right to tell you what their gender is?
No problem at all. So it's you're going to tell me what your gender is, but in the world is less fucked world, I don't have to believe it. But I'm thrilled for you. You're a lampshade. I'm so happy. Let me put a light bulb up your ass.
You're not qualified to talk about anything other than that. There is no current war. There is only the ongoing war that has been waged against the people who have had their lands and resources stolen.
This country has lied from day one. John Smith, who was Captain John Smith of the English military, who co-founded Jamestown. And when he left Jamestown to go back to England, he first went to Cape Cod area, Connecticut, Massachusetts area, and he spread smallpox and measles-filled blankets among the Indian people. Over 90% of the Indian population of that entire area was wiped out. Hence, when the Pilgrims came, they in fact built their village, the Pilgrim village, on the ashes of the alleged capital of the Indian nation at that time, and went on from there with the big lies. In fact, they would not allow Indian people into Plymouth Village unless they had business to do with someone inside the village. And then never did they break bread or eat with Indian people. Not once. In fact, the opposite was the truth.
If the story for war is the same, then the war is the same. The story for these current wars within the last 200, 300, 400 years have been the same. To maintain illusion, to maintain control, to maintain the manipulative interpretation of reality based upon their perspective.
hip-hop, man. Young Maurice the God, man. Buy my album, man. It's a mixture of a lot of genres. Trap music, bluegrass, support art.
If you wander anywhere outside of that viewpoint, the security measures that are built into people will activate. The security measures activate because there's an insecurity measure that's installed into the masses of people that is meant to go off as soon as that insecurity starts to get triggered.
The shirt says never surrender?
That's right.
And that's from when he surrendered and got his mugshot taken?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Because insecurity, just like money, success, your car, all of these things are installed into your belief systems, into your thought in order to maintain control. You need to buy a new car. You need to have a good job. You need to do this in school. You need to do this with your loved one. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to have all these things that this system deems necessary in a positive light for you to be comfortable, for you to be one of everybody else.
The woman to be a whore, they want the man to be a homo. They want us to be emasculated. They want our women to be sexualized. Because if they do that, they can control both of us, bro. That's not our true position. Right. That's not who we are.
But it's not just the positive things that get installed into your world to manipulate your perspectives. There's also negative forms of control. Insecurity is a negative form of control. Have a discussion about money. Have a discussion about politics. Have a discussion about religion. Get it to a certain point. You go beyond that point, boom, insecurity activates and the discussion will go no further. Have a discussion about celebrities. Have a discussion about entertainment. Have a discussion about sports. Get into the nuts and bolts of some of the individuals playing those sports, some of the people in that entertainment, what they're involved in. Step a little further into that discussion and it's done. That software has been installed into the hardware of the masses in order to maintain control on a level that people don't even realize that they're being controlled.
Now they detached themselves so far from it, they don't even believe what they used to learn in the first place.
Nope. I'll tell them, I'll say, yo, this is the unabridged dictionary, right?
Unabridged means what again?
Unabridged means
for the people.
As complete as can be. This book particularly was written in 1828. Watch this word. American, a noun, right? A native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, semicolon. But now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Do you see what they did? They took the status of the people that they considered to be Americans and they just applied it to themselves. And then they told us, you guys are citizens. We are the Americans.
So they took their whole style.
They took it all with paper.
An old school saying involved in this reality was when people used to say, and they still say, never talk about religion, never talk about politics. Why? Why is that a saying? The two most powerful and controlling manipulative tools in the minds of the masses. Where did that come from? If somebody tells you not to talk about something, they're telling you for a reason.
I'm going to tell you now that the only obstacle to the New World Order coming together at this moment is the right of the American people to keep and bear arms. That is why there is such an effort to take your guns away from you. You see, the intent of the Second Amendment, the second article and amendment to the Constitution, was not so that we could go hunting. It was not to protect the possessions in your home or to protect you from burglars. The intent of our forefathers in establishing the second article and amendment to the Constitution was that as long as every American owned a weapon, whether they ever fired it or not, our government could never oppress us just with the knowledge that we all had that weapon in our closet. That's the reason. That's why every time you see a bill to take weapons away from the American people defeated in Congress, 4 more are introduced immediately. It's a never-ending battle. That's why they lie about the statistics. The truth is, in a town where everybody owns a weapon and everybody knows it, there is almost no crime.
9 times out of 10 is because if you talk about that, it will expose something dealing with them. Trace this back to your censorship dealing with medical misinformation, false information, fact checkers, whatever's out there deeming what the official narrative is.
Hey Mr. Pfizer, what's it like to be so famous? Did you let Illuminati score a touchdown in your anus? Bet you did. And now you're Mr. Taylor Swift. That's quite the gift. Watch out for Swiftie.
Fact checkers didn't exist until the truth started being told to the masses. What is a fact checker? Fact checkers based upon what institution of facts? Is that institution credible in the slightest?
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses.
A key part of this is their covert and illegal operations to destabilize countries and crush anti-colonial movements. They did this in every corner of the world, whether it's orchestrating a coup against the democratically elected Mossadegh government in Iran to reinstall the Shah dictatorship and prevent the nationalization of oil, or the coup against the anti-colonial government of Lumumba in Congo to stop them taking control of their natural resources, or the long list of coups in Latin America to install puppet military dictatorships and crush any rebellions against them. Another big part of our work is psychological operations and propaganda. So what are some of the most famous examples of this? Well, look at Operation Mockingbird, a massive program during the Cold War to recruit journalists both in the US and abroad to spread propaganda including reporters from the New York Times, AP, Reuters, and others. In total, 400 journalists and 25 news organizations, all on the CIA payroll, to manipulate public discourse and even publish fake stories. And on a related note, the New York Times has admitted that they still run some of their stories past national security officials for approval before publishing.
No. So who are your fact checkers? Fact checkers are the tentacles of the system that maintains control over the masses through information, through controlling the information that you receive and controlling the information that's projected into your world.
We got to change the books. The books is sexist. The books is racist. I mean, give me a break. Columbus discovered America. Everybody know that punk got lost. I mean, where was the Indians when he got here? No, this is serious. No. Trust me. If you can discover a country that's already occupied, I take it personal. I can walk out on the parking lot today and discover your car with you in it. Shut up and get in the back seat and teach me Thanksgiving. I mean, finally, let me just say this. If you went home today and me and some black dudes had taken over your house, killed your animals, I mean, destroyed everything, killed everybody in the house, and you come stick your key in the door and we open the door and say, and what are you doing here, savage? And you say, who are you? And we say, we the settlers. Now, how would you feel? But go and look at American history. We come here, took their land, destroyed them, and called them the savages and called us the settlers. And we print that in our history book.
You can only reach so far. You can only think so much. Anywhere beyond that, you become a threat. You are no longer an asset. You're an asset when you tell the story that they want to be told. They will pay you.
And now you're Mr. Taylor Swift. That's quite the gift.
They will put your videos, your information, your perspective. It will be put higher in the algorithm. Say something that challenges their belief systems. Say something that goes against their narrative. That's where you will be attacked. Fact-checking and removing information from the internet, platforms like YouTube, is the modern book burning. Nothing less. Worse in many different ways. Because how many different people out there are sharing information and having that information censored, swept under the rug, removed completely? More people are going to put information on the internet than are going to write books. Not everybody has the capabilities to write a book, but everybody is capable of making a YouTube video, making a Facebook post, putting a tweet up, making an Instagram reel or story. How many of those have been removed, deleted from the consciousness of the masses because that system of narrative control says you cannot say that? With zero accountability, they can remove your content and tell you it goes against their guidelines. Not even tell you what part of your content goes against their guidelines. Do that and have zero repercussions.
Since it's clear that you're not corrupt and you got elected, why should people think that the system produces corrupt results when there you are?
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though.
What's happening right now is the illusions that have been passed down, the positive illusions and the negative illusions, but more so the positive illusions, because when the negative illusions start to come to the surface, they weren't really a threat to the masses of people who were in that world of creature comforts. They didn't care anything about the negative illusions that were coming out. But the positive illusions, once those start to come down, once your First Amendment right starts to come down, your so-called Second Amendment right, once all those rights, those positive things that people think have been given to them by their masters, once those start to fall down and trickle down and deteriorate and start to get attacked, now it becomes a problem. Expose the historical information that they're putting in these school systems. Expose the fact that that is a very narrow-minded perspective on what's going on in order to maintain the official narrative of what happened to the people of this land, the resources, not only here in the United States, but around the world.
If a Caucasian has a body mass more than 25, then he'll start running into problems. He's getting overweight now. South Asians, 23. 23! Your body mass index needs to be less than 23. Your blood pressure needs to be less than 130/85. A Caucasian can handle 140/90. You can't. You need to know this. So when you go to a doctor, it's not one treatment for all, which is what we tend to do. South Asian walks into my office, a black guy walks in there, a Hispanic walks in there, a Caucasian walks in there, everyone treat them all the same way. You can't do that. You see, so if a Chinese guy has high blood pressure, he's going to get a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke. At the same blood pressure that the Caucasian will have nothing wrong. And at that same blood pressure, the poor black guys, they get kidney failure. Go to the dialysis center, you'll see it. So these are ethnic genetics that cause different phenotypes with the same degree of disease. Something going on here because we are all made different. Your genetic background is totally different than the genetic background of Caucasians or Latinos or blacks.
Control that information, and the people who have something to say about that don't matter. Why? Because they've been conquered already. Their voice doesn't matter anyway. In many perspectives, they're still 3/5 of a human. They're savages. They believe in that story. So they're not even going to add to what you're saying about what's being shared. They're not even going to pay it any attention. It doesn't matter. You're not human. You're not worth being discussed in the bigger picture. But now, attack my rights. I am a real American. I have the constitutional rights of this nation. Attack my right to bear arms. Attack my freedom of speech. Now we have a problem, sir.
I mean, the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean,
knowing this is the case, knowing that demographic is their army, they generate more situations for those people to be angry about. Create the pronoun discussion. Weaponize that community. Empower them. Place them on a pedestal of importance to be discussed. Paint the fucking White House a rainbow hue.
The most critical time to be there is grades 5 through 8 because you want to catch kids when they're starting puberty, because that's the time in which identity formation is central to their lives. However, early intervention is key. So we actually are designing a kindergarten through grade 2 curriculum this summer.
Make your celebrities talk about it. Cancel your celebrities and athletes if they say anything about this community. Elevate their issues so much. Put them in the city halls. Put them on Instagram. Put them on social media. Put them in the movies. Put them in Disney movies. Put them in the fucking cartoons. Put it everywhere. Paint the whole world of entertainment and perspectives. Paint it all a rainbow hue. Make it so relevant that any other perspective, any other group of people that have anything to say about what they're going through won't see the light of day. Because if they aren't on the same page that we say is important enough to put on the world stage, it's not worth paying attention to. This is no different than back in the 60s when they were talking about the so-called civil rights and power to the people. When you had people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King stepping out and putting these perspectives out there for people to see. What did they install back then compared to what's being installed today? The feminism movement. Don't talk about black power. Talk about equal rights. Muddy the waters. Water everything down so that when you come out the other side, nothing really changes. The issues were never discussed because it went from real movement to concessions. There's a video I just saw this morning with all kind of rappers, celebrities, demanding this, demanding that.
Because you broke your promise to the very people you swore to protect. It's time for you to step up and enforce this law. Their corporate greed is devastating patients and their families. Hospitals are obligated to show us their prices, and we demand them. Power to the patients.
This is why they are paid millions of dollars, to play that role, to maintain the masses following that perspective and saying, well, we can only go this far. People with all the resources in the world don't even have the power to do anything more than demand from their slave masters what to do within this system. Until that perspective gets broken, People are going to stay exactly where they are. And those athletes, those celebrities, those actors are hired, are promoted to maintain that perspective.
Vote or die, motherfucker, motherfucker, vote or die. Rock the vote or else I'm gonna stick a knife through your eye. Democracy is founded on one simple rule. Get out there and vote or I will motherfucking kill you. Yeah, I like it when you vote, bitch. Shake them titties when you vote, bitch. I slam my Jimmy through your mouth roof. Now get your big ass in the polling booth.
If they say anything other than the official narrative, they will be dealt with accordingly. You will never hear from them again. They will be demonized, they will be attacked, they will be removed completely. This is why any of that information that's being shared about the war, politics, money, religion, any of that stuff coming from mainstream talking heads, athletes, whoever it is, those perspectives keep people orders of magnitude away from the actual perspective that will empower them. The only use that those perspectives have is as a starting point to see where to go from there. Why are these ones chosen to say these things? Why are these the points that we are told to do? Why are we saying we should demand this? Why are we saying we should be equal to this? Once you start there and you don't stop until you get to that answer that you're looking for, you'll realize that where you started, the answers you thought were real are not even relevant.
I bet you don't even barter, you just ask people for money. Capitalist.
I bet you weren't even born in a yurt. You were probably born in a hospital. That's why you're all messed
Do
up.
me a favor, close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay, so now all three of your eyes are closed.
You probably know magic, but it's like bad magic. I bet you're bad at magic.
Mother Ayahuasca called. She said she wants her shirt back.
You can't even spell Ram Dass.
They're nowhere near close to relevant in this discussion because they are sitting in a space that is nothing more than mind control and manipulation. Narcissistic, manipulative tools that are used against the individuals, to use amongst themselves, and the masses to corral and police each other.
I've done workshops to cleanse this type of energy.
Oh, okay.
So you can have this for free because I'm a nice person.
Yeah?
And there's a sense of pride in that policing. There's a sense of honor in chipping away at what people around you have done to get out of that space. They need to bring you down because that's the only way that they feel up. There's no other way to feel up, to feel higher than the lowest common denominator. If you find a way to be up, somebody around you will remind you that you are down. You are no higher than where they are. And the official narrative will be glorified. It will be amplified. The volume on that perspective will be turned up so high that it will drown out truth. It will drown out reason. And it will drown out any steps towards forward progress that you could imagine.
I said vote, bitch, or I fucking kill you.